Now, here are some perceptions that students generally have about the GMAT, which are not necessarily true. So let's take a look at a few of them. Firstly, many people think that the GMAT is another CAT being your common admission test. The truth is that it's not. If you've noticed, the CAT and many of the Indian admission tests, not to talk badly about them, but just that many tests tend to be unregulated in certain aspects. They're not standardized. They change from year to year, and it's almost impossible to anticipate exactly, precisely, what these tests will test you on or what the content of these tests will be. That's not the case with GMAT. The GMAT is a standardized test to the point that the kind of questions that you will see on the day of the test, to the kind of logic that they will test you and the way in which a question is constructed becomes predictable. There is only so many ways that the test maker can test you or can test your abilities. And this is because they want to give you a fair test, a standardized assessment of students that is reliable across the world. Also, the GMAT is not a test of content. It doesn't really test you on complex mathematics or mathematics in itself or grammar as a subject, as a theoretical aspect. Being really good at solving mathematics and being really good at English grammar may not really help you on the day of the test. It's rather a test of strategy rather than content knowledge. Again, I will delve more deeply into what the GMAT actually tests shortly. There is also a common myth. If you've read about the GMAT on the internet, if you've read some of the blogs, there's a lot of myth going on that the first 10 questions is very, very important, and that pretty much defines your score. Although it's not completely wrong, the first 10 questions are important, but so is the next 10 questions, so are the last 10 questions, because of the way that the test is constructed. When I talk about the computer adaptive nature of the test, I will explain this to you more in depth, and why, or rather how you should be strategizing your timing to score effectively and not fall into bad test-taking methods. So the short answer is no. The first 10 questions are not the most important aspects. The entire test is important. In fact, the GMAT penalizes you quite heavily for not completing the test. According to some research, according to statistics, again, according to the data from GMAT itself, you can expect about anywhere from 5 to 10 percentile drop in your score for every question that you do not complete. If you do not complete the test and you've missed one question, then you can probably anticipate about 5 to 10 percentile drop in your score, and that's a huge amount, right? So completing the test is also important. Also remember that because it's computer adaptive, making a few mistakes here and there doesn't really harm your score too much. The system corrects for that. The system will average out if your performance has been consistent and at a higher level. Again, more of that soon. I will talk about that when I talk about the CAT, or the computer adaptive nature of the test. Again, another myth that goes around is that if you do not score 700 or above, you're pretty much doomed, that you will not be able to get into a college or a B school program that you want. This is not really true. Remember that there are many aspects that a B school looks at when selecting a candidate. I will talk more about this again in a few slides. But essentially, just the GMAT score is not really a determining factor. It can never really be an end all for your B school dreams. And this is especially true if you're someone who has really good profile, really good academics, and really good work experience, but for some reason have not been able to break past the 700 threshold. Don't be disheartened. Know that the admission committees will look at you holistically, right? And also the figures, the average figures, the means that they establish or that they show in their websites for their outgoing batches or the previous batches are averages, right? So if the average is about 700, know that there were many students who were taken into their programs who scored much lower than 700, right? So don't let that affect you too much. Know that there are a lot more things that are involved when a B school selects a candidate. Again, more about that later. Another myth is that the GMAT is like one of your other insane tests, which require years of preparation. Now, the fact that certain tests require years of preparation is true because those are content heavy. The GMAT is not a content heavy test, it's a strategy test. And according to statistics that GMAT itself had researched and published, it was found that many students, or the average time that a student who scored above 700 plus spent on preparation was about 2 months, just 2 months. So it's not really the amount of time you spend, it's rather the quality of the preparation that you engage in. Again, what constitutes good quality preparation, we will discuss in depth before the end of the session, right? Also remember that the content is not very high level. You're probably looking at stuff that you've seen already content-wise in your 10th grade, right? And English is pretty basic, very basic grammatical rules, nothing beyond what you already can comprehend and understand. It's rather the way that it tests you that makes it difficult.